Intentional Accidental Adventure by Rob Carter. A shout came from the back hallway. Ethan kicked me. Mom, Ethan kicked me just now. Quieter. Did not. Elizabeth hollers back even louder. Did too, and he should get in trouble. Kristen. Should he get in trouble because you say so, or should you get in trouble for tattling? Knowing that this is just an opening salvo in the latest skirmish between two siblings and will only escalate if the two parties are not separated, I struggle out of my post-morning activities, nap-driven fog, discerning the easiest path to break this cycle of aggression is to go and do something with Ethan. I struggle to think of options and get the energy to get out of the seat. Going through my head is this what I want the rest of the day to be? Or I can get Ethan out of the house to do something. Thinking. Where would I go? What will get him out and about? And then the idea launches and strikes as lightning out of the sky. Come on, let's go for a walk. I look at the dog. Disney, do you want to come with? This is punctuated by his quickly scurrying under the chair and looking back at me with his nose pressed down to the ground, his puppy eyes telling me, not this time, no way, not going anywhere with you. So I swivel my head and shout out the other directions needed to get this mission started. Come on, Ethan, let's get our shoes on and head out. We move to the front hall, find our shoes, and begin the preparations to head outside. Quick check, head to toe, and my shoes are on, hat is on my head, and ready to go. Uncle Rob, can you tie my shoes? A burp. Pause. Not going to move across the line of departure because all the equipment's not good to go. Like I would look at a soldier preparing to move out on patrol without their ruck and weapon, I peer down at Ethan with the "did you just ask that" look pasted across my face, which he must not see because Ethan asked a second time, Uncle Rob, can you tie my shoes? I look at him again, thinking, right size to be in school, made it through a few grades of elementary school. He's not really asking me to tie his shoe. This has to be a joke. He's trying to see if I'll do it. Of course he can tie his shoe. Then there's the effort it takes to get down, bend over to tie them. I already bent over and tied mine with creaks and cracks. I really do not want to do it again for his. A deep breath, focusing on getting this done as a pre-hike check, and not turning it into something I wish would just fix itself, I lean over and tie them both. And we head out the door and down the stairs. Where are we going? Adventure. Not really sure. We're heading out on an adventure. Because I don't really know where we're going. We have options, a small lake with falls across the street, a trail that goes through the marshland to a small peninsula into the Hudson River behind the house, and then there's the easiest, most clean option, just walk to the bottom of the street and the Hudson River view there. Only option out of the mix is even shorter, down to the next side street and back. Since the dog didn't come, that probably is off the table. So I take another deep breath and we look to walk further than to the corner and back. It really is a toss-up until we get to the corner. There's a trail over by the end of the road behind the house I'd been meaning to check out, but I've not walked it yet. You can see the almost island pushing into the river from our back deck. It'd be fun to head out there, but it may be muddy, and I don't know how well the trail is cleared. So I'm still a bit undecided until I hear a train going by at the bottom of the hill, down the street from our house. 73 freight trains a day make that trip. We're heading down the street to see what is there. Why do that? Don't you want to see if we can get there and see the train? You can hear it now. It's just below us, running between the river and the hill. I guess. Could be an adventure. There's a sewage plant that last year had a fire when they were doing some work. Haven't seen that for a while. Then there's a river, the glorious Hudson River, and also a pretty cool stream runs along the side of the road and empties into the river under the train tracks. Thinking to myself, now this will be an adventure. Ethan shouts, woohoo, an adventure, and he kicks up his heels and we start to head down the street. Now our neighborhood is off an old state road and it has some historic buildings on it from the old J.P. Morgan estate, and there are several houses that are having work done so that there's construction equipment and paving equipment out and about. We're up at the top of the hill and the street runs downhill from our house all the way to the river with a few branches that dead end before you hit the sanitation plant, railroad tracks, and river. Plenty to see just walking down the street, people out on their porches, dogs barking at windows, stuff in yards. As we start heading down the road, there's a stick on the side and Ethan grabs it up. I got a machete, ready to cut through and get on our adventure. He kicks up his feet again and starts swinging at the lower branches as we continue down the road. We get to the old laundry building that's now a house and he really has no interest. Same when we go by the next old building that was part of the estate. We get to the first road off to the left and a small bridge that goes over a creek. Where's that go? You know, I already told you. Down where we're going, to the Hudson River. Ethan works his way over the fence, and that is between the road and the creek. Looks at the water pushing its way downstream through the rocks and fallen branches. Do you know why I had the fence up, E? No, why? To protect us from the troll. Your machete's not big enough if he comes out to get us, but he's too short to get over the fence. No way. Yes way. You have a nice bridge like this, running water, garbage cans nearby, perfect place for a troll to set up. He just waits for unsuspecting people to cross over, reaches up, and grabs them for a quick snack. Don't worry, though. The fence will keep him away. Works just like they do at the exhibits at the zoo. Sure, Uncle Rob, is what he says as he backs away from the fence towards the middle of the street, and we keep heading on our way. Another twist and turn, and the stream grows closer to the road. Ethan looks at me, looks at the rocks leading down to the trees to the water, and he starts staring at the glittering promise. Before I can utter a single word of confirmation or denial, it's an adventure, and he's down among the rocks looking for a way to get through. I keep walking, just go a ways down. There he is still. I can see him hopping from stone to stone, looking for fish and frogs and big bugs, while still on the lookout so he doesn't become a tasty troll snack. My mind rolling over how this keeps us out of the house a while longer. Hope he stays clean, doesn't fall in, and looks like there's nothing to worry too much about from what I can see there. It's like I have my own adventure show, looking through the leaves and listening to Ethan's narrative about what he's whacked, cut, and hopped about. This show, however, doesn't cut to commercial. It takes Ethan out of my view. So with a sigh, I walk back to where the creek edged up the road, and I make my way down into the rocks and the trailing waters that are rushing down to the Hudson River. This takes effort. I think, why am I out here? Why I'm not sitting down in the house, slowly losing focus as my book falls out of my hand and I'm lulled into an afternoon nap. Each sideways step a creak and an ache, the beginning of the murmurs in the back of my head to get back up to the road. Keep your feet dry. Why are you heading down into a creek bed? Up ahead of me, just glancing back and seeing that I've joined him, "Uncle Rob, it's an adventure!" exclaims Ethan with glee as he swings his stick through the tall grasses and at the branches that hang over the water. The swish of his stick brightening the gleam in his eye and lengthening the smile and joy of his speech as he hops off to the next rock and the next, pushing us past the point where I could see him from before. Well beyond my expectations and plans for our walk, we'd blossomed into an adventure. Pulled off the road into the creek by Ethan's enthusiasm, I still feel that niggling to get back up to the road, keep our, or at least my, feet dry. Ethan shouts back to me, "No more rocks, Uncle Rob, feet are gonna get wet." With a certainty of step and a splash, he continues to move downstream, now walking in the stream. That step, made without hesitation for him, breaks me past worrying about staying clean and dry, as the rocks run out for me and there's now less of a chance of my slipping in or twisting an ankle as I try to fit my feet onto a dry patch. And my feet are both now in the creek as well, water rising up over my ankles with a sense of cool freedom and adventure. We keep moving down the creek, climbing over fallen trees, going under fallen trees, and pushing past rock falls into the crevices where the creek's been working its way down, till we get to the point where we can no longer head through the brush and the rocks. Well, Ethan may be able to keep going, but it does not look like there's any way I'm going to fit and end up on the side of the creek where the road is. So we backtrack a bit and head up over to the top to reach a sanitation plant and our last stretch to the railroad tracks and the Hudson River. Climbing up the rocks over a pile of used timbers from track repairs, we get to a mountain of tarred timbers aside a pile of steel plates and rusted railroad spikes. A sense of purpose for our journey, treasure we had come here to gather up. Ethan wants to climb up the railroad ties just as we scamper down the creek, but I hold him back. The creek, water, and mud, all that is so much more forgiving than tar and splinters or rolling timbers. Inner safety officer waves us off from clamoring about those piles as we slosh down the creek. We move over to the rustling iron piles. "CE, we've got spikes. One each for the pile for each of us since we made it." And I pick them up and go to hand him one, the rust scaling off and turning my head a soft reddish brown. "Dirty. Don't want one. You take them." And I do as we turn around and look where the creek comes out of the crack in the rocks on the hillside and dwells in a pool before crossing under the railroad tracks and into the Hudson River. Let's head back. We can get a snack when we're home and share about our walk down to the creek. A walk that almost didn't happen, which, if Ethan had been just a little slower or not pushed as far down the creek before I got there, would not have happened, and we would have missed out on that adventure together. Since I came back, there are a lot of times I pause instead of engaging and have missed out on doing stuff and going places. Sometimes I don't have the energy or the desire. We turn towards the road and walk all the way back up the hill, taking off our shoes and socks to dry over the railings on the front porch and go into the house to share about the frogs and the fish we'd seen as we made the commitment to walk down the creek to the river. Reflecting on our walk, I come to realize it was fun, that the step off the road into the creek took me past what I wanted to be doing, shook me out of the after-church doldrums, where I'm full from lunch and looking to close my eyes and check the lids for leaks. It was an activity that started simply to provide something for Ethan to be doing that pushed me past being an observer to becoming an active participant in the adventure. Got me past looking through the leaves, past just getting to the edge and walking on the dry stones, to full commitment, both feet in the water, heading downstream. It was a good adventure. A few days later, as I was driving with my wife, while she was driving and I was along for the ride, I was thinking about the walk with Ethan and I took, and how it got me to get past just watching, being on the side, to be engaged and walking in the creek. Maybe it was his smile and joy moving off the road. It could have been because I was concerned and was trying to keep up, to be sure that he stayed safe. Might have been that I just wanted to lose the years and get back to doing something fun and youthful. I shared this with her, that I didn't know why, but that I was glad we did it. Waiting, expecting to hear maybe we shouldn't have walked in the creek, or that I should have checked with his mom first before committing to something that would get us both wet and dirty. She paused a bit before answering and then said, "I wish you would decide to do things with me." More than the first step into the cold water that hit, more than the slide off a slippery rock, I felt it move me in the feels. A little bit farther, and the growth that was spent on an afternoon adventure made me reflect on the other times I've let life and family pass by, content to simply sit and look through the leaves, and didn't walk down to track through with them where they or my wife were heading. With a deep breath and a desire to lock onto the motivation that got me off the road, the thought whispered through my head, I would like to. And I continued to reflect how I can be more engaged as we drove down the highway now in silence.